Hi, how's it going? My name's Austin Keating, and I'm here to talk to you about achievement gap and a proposed solution that I could see being implemented in schools everywhere. Achievement gap refers to the difference or disparity in academic achievement or performance between different groups of students in the classroom. Some factors that might contribute to this is lack of provisions of high tracking curriculum to all, a student's socioeconomic background and the lack of or weak roles of student resource offered, or unequal learning grounds for the minority groups. In my very own community, which I'm observing for my teaching internship, achievement gap can be obvious but is slowly being addressed day by day. Fountain Hills Middle School is a unique community because it experiences an influx of Native American students due to its location directly next to a reservation and subsequent Native American community. There's a sizable achievement gap due to the difference of socioeconomic conditions between the Native American students and the rest of the student body. And because of this, changes have only recently been issued in order to increase student achievement and close this gap. For example, a Native American specific teaching aide was hired a couple years ago, and her duties primarily regard providing support to some of the students. In terms of some solutions that I see, or a solution that I see being implemented that would be effective across the country, would be implementing some form of a reteaching program that would target specifically math and English. And specifically, even more of that, target essential standards that are important to these students. To do this, you'd have to first establish and implement an academic planner that must have their academic plan out in an organized calendar. The actual reteach program would target English and math and consist of a 5-question formative assessment every Friday for math and every other Friday for English. If the students get a 1, 2, or 3, which would be a 60% or lower on the quiz, the next week, on Tuesday or Thursday after school, they are then retaught the material and then tested in order to replace their previous score. This would be done through retesting and also could be built into their schedule, so it doesn't have to be after school necessarily, if that makes sense. The program I found that is closest to this solution is based out of Vail, Arizona, actually, and is called Beyond Textbooks. Under this program, based on how students do, they receive more support. So if a student is falling behind, then they, in turn, will receive the support. Kids will always then receive a second chance and avoid falling behind, which is important, especially in some courses that require like scaffolding, like math. And not require scaffolding, but are heavier in scaffolding. In terms of some resources that are necessary for implementing this strategy, you definitely have to have organized bus schedules for some of the students. You would need to coordinate when and where teachers would be available, and teachers would also have to monitor and send notes home to parents in order to ensure student participation and accountability. In terms of some obstacles that you would expect when implementing this solution, actually getting teachers into having an academic calendar and sticking to it is definitely an obstacle. How they teach is up to them, but what they teach would not be. For example, an English teacher cannot take up half the year if they'd like to cover literature, but they would have to instead change up their lesson planning in order to fit the academic calendar that you'd have to lay out. In terms of some outcomes that I would hope to see and achieve with this proposed solution, further classroom support and a second chance for students to avoid falling behind in the classroom, and reinforcement for the students if they are behind would definitely be a benefit I see. This is important to me and my community because giving a second chance in the classroom to make up or reinforce an essential standard is absolutely important to improving test scores and closing this gap. This is also important to communities such as Fountain Hills, as it could be a difference maker when tackling its very own issues.